Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. My buddy Rhett did not want to come in here today. I tried to get her, but she didn't want to come in. And, I kind of do this I kind of bring her in for her, stimulation so she has something to do, but she don't want it. Um, so we are working on on my space and time application. And we're dealing with some timing issues, which was definitely predictable. And then we have probably more timing issues coming. So I think when I was interacting with ChatGPT, it gave the impression that the ng after view init only fired after the children were also um, built out. Now, I guess now that I think about it, I don't even know what it said. Let me see if we can. I think we can just go back and look, see what it said. Maybe. Um, so basically, what I wanted was to. I don't even know what the last thing I talked to. Waiting for a child component. Okay, so the last thing I talked about was waiting for a child. The view child does not magically make the parent and you wait for the child's work. It only assures the child component instance exists. If the child has an async work, you'll need to enter. Um, but like, so it kind of gave the impression that you could do an ng uh, to signal completion. Okay, so I guess they are saying that you could have an output of the child. I guess I misread it at the time. I thought what it was telling me was that this ng view init would only fire after the child was also ready too. Um, and so the problem is that I was having was that when I go over here and I add a visualization and then I go to edit it, um, I was getting the wrong ratio. I was getting the ratio before it was calculated. Now I added a timeout in order to get it to show it right, but I don't really like that solution. I don't really have a problem. Like it's not like sort of like I don't like timeouts. I really don't mind timeouts. The reason I don't like that solution is because if you start adding timeouts on timeouts on timeouts, it can become very difficult to maintain the code. Once you've added, more than two layers of timeouts, trying to figure out when things happen gets really, really nasty. So like I was like, okay, so the problem is that the outer component is trying to run some code, but it's trying to run the code before the inner component is done. So that was sort of the mindset that I had. But that mindset is pretty flawed because it's not really like I could implement it to where the child component sort of out on its ng view emits like a signal saying, "Hey, I'm done." Um, and but that would be very short-sighted because right now I just did that. I just set it up to show up in the outer layout component. I just set it up here because I don't have the editor component done yet. And since I don't have the editor component done yet, that means that yes, when this is done, this can run. But what happens when I have the editor component done? And it is kind of a really just a disaster of a newbie mistake to sort of set it up to where like okay, this child component talks to the parent child component, and then the parent child component talks to another component. Um, like that becomes very difficult to maintain, but then it makes your code insanely fragile if you add if like say let's say our editor component has child components and we need to communicate that down, and so you have like one component talking up to the parent component talking down to a child component, which is then talking to another child component, which is then talking to another child component. Anything along that line can just break something, unexpectedly break things, and so it's really not a path you want to go to. I mean, it's like kind of like one of those things that I guess maybe every developer has to learn for them. Every Angular developer has to sort of learn the hard way. I once worked for this place where we had like like they had developers that had certain attributes, right? Like they were born with certain attributes that made the organization want those programmers to do better. So they were trying to give them like a little bit of a lift, for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they did. It was government, right? So like they were like, okay, so this person, their code is perfect and it's amazing, but that person was like a middling developer. So that person like had been a junior, had been a very, very good junior, and then was sort of in their middling stage where they were naming everything like very generic names and all that. And one of the things that person did was set up like where you had like a visualization, and then you had like a parent component, and then you had like a sort of a detail, kind of like this. It was more side to side, but it was conceptually like this. And then that had child components, and then that had child components, and then those child components were reused by other components. And that person had set it up to where basically all these components were sort of talking through each other through emitters and through inputs. And like the code just was unmaintainable and was constantly breaking and all that. So but then the organization started trying to force me to write code that way, and I was like, and then I was pretty comfortable with RxJS, so I was like, no, we need like behaviors and stuff, because trying to keep track of all those is going to be like incredibly, it's going to make things very, very fragile. um, and so they had code that like we would have similar fixes that had to be done. Like let's say organization decided, the customer decided, oh, we want something, and that same something was like something that was applicable to tons and tons of different visualizations. Um, that on my code, we would literally make 3 lines of code, change everything, work, put it out there. But on this other individual's code, who was a middling developer, which drove me crazy because like this experience, they actually had this middling developer develop like 15 visualizations, and all those visualizations had these problems in it. And basically it drove that person insane, and that person decided to become a designer and just quit becoming a developer. And I was like, man, that person was this close, like literally had matured into a senior developer before my eyes, because we had to fix that person's code all the time, and we would go together and we would work on it. And that person learned how important it was to name things carefully, how RxJS and how to set up subjects and behaviors and all that stuff. Learned all that stuff and became very good at all that stuff, but left being a developer, and that was a real heartbreaker. But anyways, so this solution is sort of not a good solution for me, and for our situation, because really what's happening is in our visualization, it's having a service do some work, and it's the services work that I care about. Now, if I remember correctly, that visualization has its own service, and so I do, but I don't think that the work that we care about, which is to determine the aspect ratio, I don't think that's being done in its service, but we need to find it. So right now, I'm working in the sort of mindset that I'm very comfortable with, which is finding a problem and then tracking that problem to the next problem, to where that source is and where that source is. But what I haven't done is sat down and thought through, where should it be architecturally, and then trying to imagine, okay, so this should be in a specific spot, and then see if it's there. Um, so and that's hard for me because I've just never really done that. So I'm trying to think, okay, so the code that determines the aspect ratio should be an ST, and it probably should be either an ST visualization or ST camera. Probably the two places that it should be. If it's not there, then I probably should re since this is working, I should probably move it, because I have something. It would have been hard to move this while it was broken, but now that it's working, I can move it and see that it's still working. It's not architecturally where I want it to be, but it's working. So let's go to our services. So this, we care about this right here a lot. So I'm going to close others because I do want to have this one. and I'm going to close components, and I'm going to go close interfaces, and I'm going to go into services, and I'm going to go to ST. And so I could tell that I've only made changes in ST renderer service. So if the change is in here, if it's in the right area architecturally, it's in here. So let's see. Do I have a update ratio by ID? Okay, so it does happen here. Okay, and what it does is it sets this st render calculated values. And I want to know when this st renderer calculated values is communicated. I mean, is modified. So I think it's time to go down another rabbit hole. And that rabbit hole is to create like a publisher that publishes changes. Because I think, so we're right at the beginning, and I don't think this is going to be limited to, um, like if calculated values was the only thing that was ever going to be calculated, yeah, if the calculated values was the only thing that was ever going to be um, published, then I would just do it in this renderer service. But since it's not the only thing that's published, it should probably be in a pub. It should probably be in a publisher, because so these are calculated values. I'm probably gonna have other kinds like static values and other kinds of things that I want to communicate from the ST system out to the rest of the world. Now, I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. I literally have, this is new for me. I've never really thought along these lines before of thinking of things as like area, physical areas. I've always thought of things like, if I'm thinking about update aspect ratio, I'm thinking of it as more of like an individual contributor, like someone that does something, and I just want to cut through all the red tape and just go straight to that person and get what I want, right? That's my main natural instinct. Like a lot of times when I've worked in like large bureaucratic environments, I found that it makes a lot of sense to just skip over all the rest of the stuff and just go find the person that knows the information I want to know, and then just go straight to them. I get in trouble for that all the time, but um, that's sort of how my mindset works, kind of how I was trained. But the problem, basically, the problem is a lot of times when I would do it that way, what would happen when I do it that way? What happens is I'm the only person on the team that knows that information. It would be better if that information came into all of us at the same time. So I guess I need to sort of rethink the way I do things. So, and I think I want to use signals just because I think signals are the future. And when I've used signals, I've found it to be a lot easier to sort of reason about than RxJS. I think RxJS is sort of like I don't know if you know the tool vice scripts, but we have these tools that we use in the US. They're called vice scripts, and what basically they're a lot like a wrench, but you can kind of make them where they snap and it just grabs onto the bolt. And so the nice thing about that is you don't really need the exact socket or wrench to fit. You can use it on anything. The bad thing is that it will destroy if you use them too much, you don't use them, and it slips or something like that, it can destroy the nut that you're trying to move off. So I think that RxJS is very, very powerful, very, very useful, but it does too many things. Signals does, as far as I could tell, does one thing really well, and that is it publishes really well. RxJS, like, I think is invaluable. I've never seen a better system for creating things like throttling, debouncing. There's lots of things that RxJS just does really, really well that makes it not, um, and it does publishing very, very well, but um, Signals does publishing better. I think it's just easier. So I guess maybe RxJS just sort of gives you too much power. But so what we want to do is create a new service, an ST service called publisher. I suspect we'll need a publisher for for UI, for visualization, for everything. Animations will probably need its own publisher because basically we're scaling too big for direct communication anymore. We're just too big for that. So the way I always create new things is, and this is a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole, right? So like at the top, we're working on the CRUD, and we're on the update part. And then once we're on the update part, we're trying to show this thing in a way. We were trying to get it to like kind of scale and all that, but now we have this information that we want to display on the UI. We want to surface on the UI, so we're already 3 rabbit holes down. Now we're like, oh, okay, we need to create a publisher concept. See, we're 4 rabbit holes down. We are way down, and so once that, trying to remember our way back is going to be tough, because it's like, okay, so now we have that done. What were we working on to begin with? But I am going to, but the first thing I do in this new rabbit hole is I go to the packages. And so I'll do Control P, and this has always been very, very useful for me, going Control P packages, but now I have another project that I work on, and it is in the evenings, and it has multiple packages in it. So this works for me here, but it does not work for me in other scenarios now, new scenarios. So basically, the first thing I do anytime I go to packages, a rule of mine is close others. This is just the sign. I've always found that worked out. Okay, so we want to create a service, S, and then we want to create ST publisher. Okay, so that I'm thinking about it as an individual contributor. I'm thinking, what is the best name for this individual contributor? Now I need to switch gears and think in terms of systems, architecture, that kind of thing. So NGS, we want to create G for generate. S, we want to create a service, and we want it to be in our services, and we want it to be in our in ST, yeah, in ST, and we want it to be and we want it to be called publisher. And I know some of them will automatically add service and some of them won't. It doesn't look like that, so I think this does what I want. So anyways, the next step is to look and just sort of visualize what I expect to happen. What I expect to happen is a new folder to be here. Now, normally when I do this, I don't have any other changes, so it's really easy to undo. Like let's say it ends up in the wrong place. This time it won't be, but it should just create one file, 2 files, one for the unit tests and one for the actual service. So if it ends up in the wrong place, because we never put app, right? Because it's actually in source and app. It doesn't look like we ever put source. It looks like services, yeah, ST, visualization. Yeah, it looks like this is what we want. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new terminal. I don't know why I don't have multiple terminals right now. New terminal, and then I'm going to say npm run st publisher. Do I want it to be called publisher? I think publish is good enough. And I guess that is another good example of sort of changing my mindset from thinking of this publisher as a individual contributor as opposed to thinking of it as a system, a building that has behavior inside of it, has individual contributors inside of it. So, and switching back and forth between those two actually is so much easier for me today. Like 3 days ago, when I was trying to switch back and forth between those two mental concepts, it was so difficult. Um, and as that was changing, I actually was having a really hard time sleeping because I was kind of thinking about that all the time. But now it seems to be really comfortable in my brain. So that's good. So I'm going to run this, and what I want to see is a new folder show up there. I don't see it. It's still working though. It's weird that it takes that long. Now, if you're brand new or if you're very new to Angular, like when I first started, I used to not use these so much. I would try to write them out myself. Um, and I think that's a good idea. But okay, so I don't think that worked. Oh, yeah, it did. Wait. Okay, so that did not work. I did not want these two. So apparently I have to tell it what. Oh, that was the difference. I couldn't remember what it was. The difference is that what happened? The difference is that with components, it creates a folder for it. But all right, so publish is the folder. Is that the building and publisher? I guess when I because I think I'm gonna end up publisher. I'm gonna name it that. Um, I think I'm gonna end up making these for other things, and man, when I'm working on it, it's gonna be so much easier to reason about. If I name it publish, then all the rest of them, if they all end up being named publish, it'll be difficult. Like, what am I publishing here? But if I name it ST publisher, I'll know that I'm publishing ST stuff. And actually, it's not ST calculated. No, publisher. Yeah, I think that I want to have a different publisher just for calculated things. No, because I have a publisher, because calculated things are all going to be in one object, which is going to lead to some complications. The fact that I'm publishing an object as opposed to individual items, but I think I'm willing to deal with that. Um, the one thing is that's going to be kind of a pain is that anything that's receiving the signal is going to receive the signal every time for everything, and it's going to run every time for everything. Okay, yeah. So I don't want to publish a. I don't want to publish an object anymore. So that rabbit hole, we've gone down here, and now up on that other rabbit hole we were just in up top, one layer up. I felt like I made a mistake. I think I should be publishing not the object. I should be publishing individual things because I don't want everything that cares about calculated items running every time there's a calculated item. Um, some of those things that'll be listening will probably be in the animation, so it might be running over and over and over again. So hopefully I can remember that because I am running out of time today. So okay, so let's do this. Boom. Okay, so what I want to see is publish, and inside of publish, I want to see ST publisher. And that looks good. All right, so it is 9:01. It's okay for me to be a little late today because I worked like a lot extra yesterday. And my boss is really cool about like us sort of making up time. I mean, like if we work extra on one day, we're allowed to work a little less on the next day and stuff like that. So I worked like 2 hours extra yesterday. Um, so I can start a little bit later today and then sort of log off a little bit earlier today. But anyways, so nothing broke. Let's just make sure nothing broke. Oh yeah, that's That's right. This thing does not like it. See, we need to figure that out. And that I feel good about this one because so I said this exact thing about resizing. I was like, eventually resizing is going to upset me and bother me so much that I'm going to deal with it. But I never did. And even at the very end, it was just like, I'm not resizing. I'm not dealing with it. And I really wish I was. And it's annoying me. But I do think that this is, so that's working. I do think this is going to be so annoying that I will, in fact, do it. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if I do come back and fix this issue. Now, if I was on a team with like 5 people, I don't know that it would ever get fixed because, um, like, you know, you're like on a group of people, you don't know if you're stepping on anybody or what. But anyways, it is 9:02. I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday and happy coding. Bye.